All righty, we are good to go.
Are we live?
We are live. We are live.
Must be 4 o'clock. All right,
It is 4
everybody.
o'clock.
Hi.
The guy you've all been waiting for.
Yes. It is the day has arrived when we are talking about the Oceano Dunes Part Two. We know everybody is excited and always wants to talk about the dunes. So today we have Kevin Pearce with us for his second time. Thank you so much
Thank
for being
you.
with us, Kevin.
Of course, my pleasure.
Hi. And I'm trying to pull up. So we're going to ask everybody, you can ask your questions on Facebook, and I will be sure to look at them. And we're just asking everybody to please be respectful. If you're not respectful, I'm not going to read your question. And you could be banned from the Pismo Beach Chambers Facebook page. So let's all be nice and talk about the beautiful Oceano Dunes that we have here in our front porch.
And mostly, I think today we're just here to get an update from you, Kevin. I think it's been a few months since we've heard from you, and it's time. And so we just kind of want to see where things are. And I just think, there's a lot of movement and a lot of conversation happening, but it's always good when we're able to hear directly from you.
Sure. Yeah, you want me to kick things off? Just
jump right in.
Well, hopefully my audio is better this time around. I'm using my phone instead of my computer, so I know that was an issue last time we spoke. So, good afternoon. Thanks for inviting me. And my name is Kevin Pearce. I'm the Chief Ranger here at Oceano Dunes District, and we operate Oceano Dunes SVRA as well as Pismo State Beach. So, I know everybody that's probably, involved and engaged today is probably well aware of our current conditions and operations, but just real briefly, let's see, we opened up to today's vehicle traffic again back at the end of October. So that was, that was great to get people back on the beach, let them spread out and get back out into the park. Shortly after that, in December, we were hit with the regional order, another response from the Department of Public Health to kind of help adjust for some Thanksgiving holiday pandemic concerns. So that kind of shut down camping that was already open at Pismo State Beach, which is North Beach and Oceano campgrounds. And then we just recently, that order was lifted and we moved back to the widespread tier, purple tier, for the safer return of the economy. And so today we reopened Oceano campground. Unfortunately, due to the storms that we had last week, North Beach campground was flooded, and so we have standing water at that campground. And those that have been visiting the park for years knows that this is kind of a regular occurrence, and so we can expect that water to remain in place for a while, and then it'll be a little bit longer for us to kind of get the facilities back up and running and reopen the park. So unfortunately, we've had to cancel reservations due in at North Beach campground. Most likely, we've canceled all the way through this month, and we'll likely have to maybe extend those cancellations in March, but we'll go ahead and reevaluate as the time goes on. And with that regional order being lifted as well, we're still working or back to work on implementing phase 2. So I've been having conversation with my Sacramento headquarters on that very regularly, and we're looking forward to making some changes here in the near future to get camping and OHV green sticker recreation activities back out onto the beach. Other than that, we just have a lot of other projects going on. We have our habitat conservation plan. That public comment period has closed, so we're reviewing public comments on that, and hopefully we'll get to a finalized HCP this summer. We have obviously our public works plan that is now out for public comments. That's posted on our website, and if you need me to provide you that link, please let me know, and I'll get that information to you.
Perfect.
But that our public works plan is open for public comment right now. Right now the deadline's March 2nd, but we'll likely extend that through March 18. which is when we expect to be before the Coastal Commission for them to review that plan. So that's kind of exciting. We've been working on that for a number of years now. And let's see, that's kind of the biggest update right now, and I think everybody else probably just wants to jump into some questions, but it's kind of where we're at. Let me know what kind of resources and links people need, and I'll certainly provide those to everybody. Yeah.
So I was recently, we ride our bikes through North Beach Campground because it's closed. So it's a great place to just kind of ride your bike around. And yes, it is quite flooded right now with water. It actually looks very pretty with all of the water and the ducks all over the place. And
well, now it's a good spot to ride your bike through, you know. So, and about how many camping spots do you have there at North Beach?
At North Beach Campground, we have 101 campsites.
Okay.
So, you know, during this period, you know, leading up to President's Day weekend, and some other kind of upcoming holidays, you know, it's a pretty popular park and usually sells out pretty regularly. But, you know, like I said, we kind of see this year in and year out. It's kind of unfortunate design of the campground, you know, being low in elevation. And then Oceano Campground, which opened up today, is that we have 72 campsites over there.
Okay. And so just to clarify, we're in the purple tier, so people can come out and drive. I mean, it's kind of the same as what it was, limited to 1,000 people coming out there, right?
Correct. Yeah, 1,000 vehicles per day.
Okay.
On the beach. Yes.
And the hours again?
Currently, our hours are 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. for vehicles on the beach.
Okay, but we're hopeful that that's going to all change soon, I think, for everybody. The camping is, I think, the number one question.
Yes, that is a question already.
When, and that we have yet to go into the red tier in order for that to happen. Is that accurate, or?
So state parks and in general, we're not necessarily working within the blueprint for the safer economy in those tiers. If you look through kind of the county's website on emergency information or CDPH, camping is currently allowed right now. So we're not waiting to move from purple to red. That's not part of kind of the factor of getting beach camping on. So I'm having conversations with my headquarters staff right now, and we're working towards that. And so we can implement that as quickly and as soon as possible.
Okay.
Only a side comment is, you know, we're not waiting for the purple and red tier, but that doesn't mean that we're not having conversations with, you know, like the county. So, you know, myself here at Oceano Dunes District, as well as my partner that operates San Luis Obispo Coast District, you know, we communicate with our, you know, local partners, City of Grover Beach, City of Pismo, but we're also communicating with the county. So we're in contact with our county administrative officer and our county health director, and we're kind of providing them information about what our plans are, and we're making sure that that kind of aligns with the county's response to the pandemic and making sure that we have their support, which we do. So, yeah, so we're kind of.
And the OHV and the camping are both in line. So it's not like they're going to, you know, you guys might do one or the other. They're both in line together, hopefully.
Correct, yeah. So we're working to implement phase 2, and phase 2 will bring back camping and OHV activity, like green sticker vehicles, like your ATVs and your side-by-sides and, you know, motorcycles.
Perfect. Okay. So hopefully you're all hearing that. Those of you that are commenting, that's in movement to hopefully happen sooner than later, both camping and OHV access. And so that's hopefully good news for a lot of you out there, because I think that's the number one question out there.
It is the number one question. Here's another question is, we have somebody saying, can we use the beach rake to clean up the trash and the debris? I'm not sure, is that still available, where they had like the, it was like a tractor and it pulled like a rake and it cleaned the debris, or are they really just letting nature do its course as far as picking up like the kelp that comes up and stuff?
Yeah, so we have Oceano Dunes. We have a beach rake. It's a big piece of equipment that kind of connects to one of our tractors. And yeah, it's a bunch of kind of 6-inch tines that go through the sand and kind of kick up any kind of garbage that's in there. So we've used that a few times for cleanup purposes to get the trash that's kind of been exposed by moving sands or just kind of clean up some target areas. We've never used it. It's not designed or it's not intended by us to be used for picking up kelp, so we don't operate it in that kind of area. So that's never been the intent of that. And so, yeah, that's still a tool in our arsenal. Currently, we don't have any plans to use it right now, but it's certainly something that we look at, and we're kind of constantly evaluating, when is appropriate and what project areas to go target. But yeah, nothing in the plans right now to target the beach cleanup with the rake.
And does that come over into Pismo Beach also, or does it stay more off of Grand and south of there?
We've used it in the SVRA. So if you're not familiar with the park, we have 2 park entrances at Grand Avenue, which is our northern entrance, and Pier Avenue, which is our southern entrance. And both of those access points lead you onto what we call Pismo State Beach. It's kind of a California State Park's nuance on kind of our operations and how they're identified. But from either access point, you still need to drive south. So south of Pier Avenue becomes the border of the Oceano Dunes SVRA, the State Vehicular Recreation, where camping's allowed and OHV activities allowed. And those are the areas that we've used the rake. So no, we haven't done it up at Grand Avenue or any areas on the Pismo State Beach side of the house.
Gotcha.
And so for part of phase 2, people are interested in knowing if that's going to be the full amount of camping, or is it going to still be a percentage?
Phase 2 is going to start out with a reduced number of campsites. So we've done that temporarily just to kind of evaluate how campers are using the areas. It's certainly not the way it used to be with a nice flat beach. Conditions have changed out there. So we're going to start out with 100 campsites and evaluate that. And then if we can support more campers and campers are finding areas to camp and be able to spread out still, we'll look at increasing that number. If we find that campers are, congregating in areas and they're not camping in other areas because it's not conducive to camping, then we may look to decrease the numbers if that's going to provide a positive impact to the camping experience. But to begin with, for phase 2, we're going to open it up with 100 campsites and then evaluate those figures and then start working towards phase 3, which is restoring the camping to our 500 number.
Okay. And so any idea when people could potentially, hopefully start looking online, I guess, to book? I guess that'll be the next, are they just checking back and?
Yeah, when we finally, we will be making an announcement when we are ready to launch into phase 2.
Okay.
And we'll give the public enough advance notice so they can start making their reservations. And we'll be making an announcement definitely on our social media, our department's Facebook and social media pages, and we'll be updating our web pages too. So make sure you check in on our social media sites.
Okay. I think there's a lot of excited people.
I think so too. Yes. Especially when they hear 100 sites and then from that to go to 500 sites opening on phase 2. That's quite exciting. So we have lots of, how many sites? Why 100 when there used to be 1,000? Was there 1,000 sites at one camping sites?
Yes, yeah. It's still 1,000 campsites. What we did, this is probably going back 2 years now, back at the end of 2019, we implemented an air quality project that is commonly referred to as the Dune project or the 48-acre project. And that's a project that was done for our air quality kind of mitigation projects. And it was conducted in an area that's traditionally been a camping area. So there was an impact to our visitors. So once we implemented that project, we had to look at the park and say what's reasonable for camping numbers right now. So we made an administrative reduction in campsites at that time from 1,000 to 500. And that was at the end of December of 19, so we rolled into 2020, and we're looking to implement that 500 campsite number and then evaluate if that number was the right number, but then COVID hit, so we never were able to implement that camping number and to really start evaluating those impacts. So we've administratively reduced it because we've recognized that there's an impact to available camping area that's traditionally been used, especially as we move towards March, which is our shorebird season, when we install our shorebird management program, which is primarily a fence from Post 6 south. So yeah, so we administratively reduced our campsites from 1,000 to 500, and so 500 is kind of our new administrative number that we're using, and we're still looking to see if that's the right number as well. So we're just waiting to get back and get back in the park and get our campers back out there,
right,
so we can start seeing what's being used, how it's being used, and what's the right number for campers.
And so there's probably right now, as you go into phase 2, is there an expected amount of time that you guys evaluate that before you start looking into phasing into phase 3?
Yeah, we'll just take, we plan to implement these transitions. The plan is to implement them pretty in close proximity to each other, within a couple weeks, if timing works out. So that's kind of the plan. So yeah, we're going to open up phase 2 with 100 campsites. We'll evaluate it, and we'll either look to make those adjustments in phase 3, a short period after phase 2 has been implemented, or even within phase 2 and making those internal adjustments while we progress. So we're just kind of waiting to get the public back out camping with us and enjoying the park, and then kind of see how everybody's using the park with the kind of the changed conditions, and make those adjustments based on that.
Exactly.
So
And
here's another question. Oh, sorry, Val.
go ahead.
So somebody is asking, how long will it take to evaluate phase 2 and
Right.
to move into phase 3? Days, weeks, months? I'm not sure.
That's kind of, what you were just saying, right?
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah. Yeah, so we recognize that, it's going to take some time to kind of, well, the plan is, if we want to throw a number on it, we're looking to make these changes relatively quickly, not necessarily days, but yeah, within weeks, if not a month. So, that would be my plan, is to, get the public back in, have a pretty good period to review the uses, and then to make those adjustments. So I can't give an answer. It's not going to be days. We're not going to see the full impacts within just, reopening the park phase 2, and then 3 days later being able to move to phase 3. But weeks is reasonable. A month, yeah, potentially. But yeah, I don't have a good answer to address that. My apologies.
And
No
what
apologies.
what phase would be full, like, every back to the normal? What phase is that?
That would be phase 3 is kind of where we are kind of back in the groove, and we can start increasing our use limits, increasing our camping limits, restore day use hours. And so that would follow, again, that would, preferably and hopefully with timing, follows phase 2 within a relatively short amount of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good enough. And I think that's what we've been seeing here on the questions, and you probably get, I would imagine, calls and emails, and it's just a matter of, when is it going to open? I know you work with, neighbors and other organizations and whatnot to kind of flesh things out. And it's not like it's your personal decision, I would expect, or you are managing and running things to the best ability that you can. And you, like us, you have limitations, and you're just sharing information. And that's where I just, keeping people and then being nice about, you're being there in the job, delivering the information, and we appreciate that. So I just want you to be aware of that I'm sure you're not in an easy spot at all. Oceano Dunes is a very hot topic. So hats off to you.
Well, thanks. Well, we got a good team here at State Parks and our staff, but we've got a good group of users and stakeholders too. And we recognize here at the district that people want to get back on the beach and do the things they love to do, and we want to support that. So we're that's our end goal, is us working to make that happen. So I get the frustration, but yeah, I just try to keep sending that message out there that, we're doing the best we can to try to get the park back open to kind of what everybody remembers, and to, get out there and enjoy it, whatever purpose it serves you,
Right.
Hiking, OHV recreation, camping, kayaking, whatever it may be.
Right. Right. Outdoors is good.
Outdoors is good. So
Healthy
Kevin,
for us.
here's a question here. It says, when will the rental companies like BJ's, ATV be able to open their business again and get back onto the sand? Is there a date for that type of?
That's got to fall in line with, when you guys know you can open. Really, right?
So right now, our OHV rental concession partners are in phase 3. So we want to get to phase 2, get the public back in using the park, and then we'll bring back our OHV concession partners in phase 3. That's kind of the plan right now.
Great, thank you. What else do you see in there, Val? Next
Let's
question.
see. The local team is great. Hey, that's good. Let's see. Anybody else? If you have questions, now is the time.
Somebody's asking, how successful was last year's Plover program?
Oh, man.
Oh, right.
Staff just finished that report. We sent that off to some partner agencies just I think about a month ago, 2 months ago. I don't have the numbers for you, but we had another good program, or another good year. It's we've been having. We've got a great program here. I don't know, if our visitors are that aware of what it takes to go into this program, but we have a huge dedicated staff that is committed to the program, to managing it. Not only our environmental scientists, but our maintenance staff that basically facilitate all the protections and measures that we go into this program. Our ranger staff and our interpreter, our outdoor education staff that, are either enforcing and helping, make sure that we're getting compliance with, trespass in the areas, or our outdoor educators that are helping us with our messaging. But yeah, we've been recognized year in, year out as one of the greatest recovery sites on the west, the western California for sure. So we've got a great track record. We're meeting the federal minimum standards for recovery of the species, and last year was, I don't have the numbers again. Last year was another good year. I think there might have been some. I don't know to speak to the specifics, but yeah, no, we have some years are better than others. We've had historical dips in the past, but last year was a good year, and we expect to have another good year this year with the program that we have in place. It's a world-class program.
Nice.
Excellent.
That's a great update.
There are quite a few people saying that you and your team are great.
Yeah.
Not just one.
That's good to hear, because we don't,
You don't get that very often.
we do get it often. We recognize, again, we've got, we know our visitors, we know our users and our stakeholders, and there's nothing more that the staff here in the field want to do than restore the recreation and the activities and resources that everybody's come to love over decades. So it's glad that we have that support, and we see that on a daily basis, but it's always good to hear. So thank you.
Good.
You're welcome.
So somebody's actually curious the cost of the beach rake. 1,000 vehicles a day allowed right now. Seems it should be being used. So
I have a lot of rake questions.
Okay. I don't know how much we spent on buying the piece of machinery, if that was the question.
how much is the cost of the rake? They're curious. So
Yeah, I don't have that figure, sorry.
so I'm curious. I don't know what it is with the rake. But I'm curious it's been a year. Like, do you guys have a final number as far as the overall revenue loss?
Kind of our historic numbers for revenue in this park is in the neighborhood for camping activities and day use kind of entry fees is in the neighborhood of like 2 million, but that includes Pismo State Beach camping, that includes Oceano Dunes camping, and that includes just people coming onto the beach for the day. So we certainly have seen a significant reduction for what State Parks is collecting. I don't have that number to share right now, though.
Okay, but significant. And then a portion of that goes to San Luis County. So, right. So that loss just gets passed on. Is that?
What do you mean?
For the
portion
tax?
goes to San
Yep.
Luis Obispo
Is there a portion of monies that go to the local area, I guess?
Well, not directly from sales of campsites or day use activity. I mean, there's through the OHV Act, you know, there's I don't want to bore you, but through the OHV Act, there's a mechanism for cities and counties that support OHV recreation to get a proportion of what is called an in lieu fee, and that is dispersed to counties on a biannual basis every 6 months.
Okay.
So I know San Luis Obispo County gets a fee from the state controller's office as a result of, you know, this formula related to.
And I think that's what I've heard it called, in lieu. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so I'm getting to the bottom of this rake question. So people are saying that it needs to be used. Somebody said here that there is broken glass and nails. And basically people are just saying it needs to be used. So I guess maybe the beach has some trash and broken bottles, unfortunately.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, thanks for the feedback. We will, it's like I said, it's part of our toolkit, and it's one of the tools, and we'll put that on our agenda. And always, you know, if you find any state park staff out there with any kind of hazards, not just trash, you know, please let us know so we can try to address it as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Great.
Somebody asked here, this is a good question. Have you had to reduce your staff because of the closure?
Yeah, state parks so the answer is no. And, you know, some people might say, well, why? You know, you don't have anybody out on the beach, especially during that, you know, longer closure period. So we closed to the pandemic in late March. So I was getting that question throughout the year. And it surprised people that we didn't have to lay anybody off. But what, you know, people may not know is basically we're operating a small city government here. So we have people that are responsible for our facilities, our waste management. We have, like we were just talking about, our shorebird program and all of our other natural resource programs. All of our regular operations, even without visitors driving their vehicles and camping with us, all of our other operations, all of our other projects, all our other commitments to natural resources or you know, the regional, the APCD and our regional air quality projects, all those projects continue. So staff still had jobs to do. In some instances, we had to adjust, just like everybody else, with telework assignments, and some people chose to take some time off for other reasons. But in general, and by and large, yeah, we did not have to lay anybody off. So that was good.
Excellent.
And one of the things, which is the biggest topic of all, and you can talk about it or not, is the CCC's 5-year recommended plan to close the park over a 5-year period. So, do you have anything you want to say regarding that, or?
Well, like we heard from Coastal Commission back in July of 2019, you know, they thought it was, you know, best that we continue with our PWP efforts. So we finished up last year putting that together, and we submitted that draft public works plan for the public, and then ultimately for them to hear on March 18. So, you know, I can't speak for the California Coastal Commission, but, you know, State Parks is looking forward to the March 18th meeting where we can discuss with coastal staff our public works plan and kind of a you know, way to move forward.
And that's why it's important for people to get involved, right?
Yeah, the public, I mean, yeah, state government, you know, any kind of government, city government, you know, we're here to, you know, serve serve the needs of our constituents, and in this case, it's, you know, Californians and, you know, international visitors. So, yeah, the more opportunities you want to get involved and speak your mind and, you know, tell people how you feel and what's important to you, you know, by all means, you know, you got to support that, and that's part of the process. We have, besides the California Coastal Commission meeting coming up March, we still don't have a date yet, but we're assuming March 18th.
Mhm.
You know, we have an Off-Highway Motor Vehicle Recreation Commission meeting as well. I'm not sure if people online here are aware of that commission or not. They have a meeting February 18th.
Okay.
February
12th?
Yeah, February 18th.
Oh, February.
You can go to our parks website. It is ohb.parks.ca.gov, and that takes you to the Off-Highway Motor Vehicle Recreation Division's webpage, and from there you can search the commission. And we have some standing quarterly meetings. The commission meets for a day every quarter, but we're having a special meeting. I believe it's going to be targeted and announced next week as a listening session for the Public Works Plan. So that's another way that our visitors can get involved.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but on your guys' website, because I'm pretty sure that I signed up for your guys' notifications or newsletters or something on, does that sound right? Do you guys have that where people can sign up for notifications and to kind of keep informed of what's happening on an ongoing basis?
Yes, especially with our Public Works Plan, there is an email subscription that you can submit your name and email, and certainly when we have any Public Works Plan updates, you'll be part of that list, and any other information will be pushed out through that subscription list.
Okay, and they can sign up directly on your website?
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
So
That's
we
right.
have a question here. So will the Public Works Plan, will the Southern Campground have dune access?
That is what we submitted, yeah. So we're looking, there's a couple things. Number one is, yeah, we've been looking and we continue to look, and it's identified in the Public Works Plan for a southern access into the park. And then on top of that, there's potentially an opportunity to, for state parks to look into potential future opportunities with Phillips 66 and their property. And so with that plan, there would also be, we'd be looking at, you know, how we could support a southern interest into the park from that area as well. So yes, that's included in our Public Works Plan, is searching and looking for that southern access.
And how much land is that with the Phillips 66 refinery area?
I think they operate 1,500 acres, give or take, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's, you know, Phillips hasn't made any public statements about what they're planning to do with it, but we recognize, since their announcement about, you know, shuttering operations, we recognize that, you know, we should start looking at potential options for, you know, if we could be involved with some kind of, you know, acquisition or access via that property.
And there's another question that says, Kevin.
Yes.
Probably not.
No.
Well, probably
I'm
not.
gonna ask this one.
We're gonna skip.
I started to say it before I read it fully.
I know.
And I'm like, no. Yeah.
What's that? Can we vote on future targets for the gun range being proposed?
So I heard that there's a possible gun range with the Public Works project.
Yeah, with, you know, part of that Phillips 66, you know, potential acquisition, you know, so back to kind of what a Public Works Plan is, it's basically, you know, it's a coastal act compliance process and document, right? And what it is, it allows our agency and other agencies to put a suite of projects into one application for a one-time approval, and once that whole plan, that PWP is approved, that agency can go ahead and move forward with development kind of on their own timeline, depending on funding or positions or needs, or priorities, right? So as part of our proposal for a Southern Access and a Phillips acquisition project, we're looking at, what's the potential use of the area. So obviously, if you're not aware, state parks leases some business space for office, for our office staff. So, obviously state parks would like to own the property that they work out of. It makes sense instead of paying a lease somewhere. So, that's kind of the attractive part of Phillips 66 existing facilities. But then also we want to look at what are the potential needs of the departments. So we have, within state parks, state park peace officers are required to qualify in firearms training every quarter. So that's my staff, that staff up at San Luis Obispo Coast District. They have a whole suite of rangers that work up there as well. And so currently we all share ranges within the community, right? The sheriff's office has a range, and we work with the sheriff's office on available dates. Fish and Wildlife has a range. A lot of agencies work with them. So the plan is, again, throw on a bunch of projects at this PWP plan is, recognizing a need for state parks to be able to go out and train our peace officers and be in control of that training and be able to do it, whenever we want to, basically. But then also just kind of fill a need within the community of law enforcement as well, and maybe even other things, we don't know. But within that realm of law enforcement, so their South County agency partners and having an additional facility to, to make opportunities more available for, officers that need their firearms qualification. Mm-hmm. So, it's exciting to kind of be able to, look and plan for, big pie in the sky ideas, and, this public works plan process kind of shapes, the big project ideas, and it kind of shapes it down into more reasonable ideas. So that's kind of the design and the intent behind a range, is to satisfy our peace officer staff here at Oceano Dunes districts, as well as my partners up at Slow Coast districts, as well as my partners that work out of Channel Coast district, which is the parks at Gaviota and South, mm-hmm. As well as satisfying the needs of other law enforcement agencies.
So will this just be for law enforcement, or will people be able to, like the regular community, that maybe somebody wants to try to get their CCW or something like that?
That's a great idea, and something that I certainly didn't think about. When I proposed this idea for the plan, I'm certainly just thinking about my officers and my partner law enforcement agencies. And that's the point of this public comment period too, is for the public to submit these comments and offer these ideas. I mean, maybe that's a great way to enter into other partnerships and, provide safe training for gun handling, and like you said, hunter safety or CCW classes, or, kids programs. There's a lot of good opportunities available. And that's kind of the exciting part about this PWP, and especially the, Phillips 66 potential for any kind of acquisition and development down in that area.
Yeah, big area. Okay, Val, do you want to ask another question?
Okay, so we do have another question, which I think is a pretty good question.
I like it.
The PWP says vehicle access will continue to be limited to 1,000 street legal, 500 campsites, and 1,000 OHB until further studies can be done. What is the timeline for this study?
Yeah, we don't know that. First we have to get through the public works plan process, and then, state parks priority after that would be to start implementing some of these studies. We proposed an attendance carrying capacity study, like you just mentioned. We've also proposed a night riding study. We don't have a plan and a timeline right now, but those are definitely things that the department needs to get answers to moving forward, to start, designing the park consistent with the public works plan.
I like this question. Will equestrians be required to pay to access the dunes and the trails?
It depends. We have, back to that Phillips 66 project, we have a bunch of cool ideas for that facility. We have equestrian. So at any state park, typically there's a day use fee to get into the facility, into the park and use the facility. So I would imagine we'd probably be looking at something like that. You know, if we're talking about Phillips 66, we'd probably be looking at, you know, something like you see at Pier Grand Avenue right now, where you come in, you pay your money, and you go into the park and go do whatever it is that you're looking to do. So at Phillips 66, we have some facilities that we've specifically thought of for our equestrian groups. That's equestrian camping, where you can have your horses with you and camp overnight, and other access to new trails within that Phillips 66 property, and out towards Oso Flaco and out to the dunes. So, you know, we don't know, but certainly it would be a realistic expectation that if you're coming into a state park facility where we're charging fees, that there would be some kind of fee, you know, for the day or for camping, if that's the case. So that's potentially something. You know, facilities over at Grand Avenue, there's nothing really planned there because we have that hotel that is still in development. So, you know, we don't charge days for people parking at Grand Avenue in that dirt lot, or even going to, you know, Finn's Restaurant, or parking in some other parking. So, yeah, that's all part of the process, is looking at what the users and visitors need, and what the expectations are as far as, you know, facilities associated with what's free or for us charging a fee, and what our visitors expect to get in return for that.
And then someone's asking, do you think ATVs will be allowed? But isn't that?
Will ATVs be allowed?
That's all it says.
Yeah, so I mean, if we're talking about phase 2, right? That's our OHV kind of green sticker. So yes, OHV recreation is part of phase 2. If we're talking about PWP, our Public Works Plan, that's in front of the Coastal Commission, then yes, OHV activity is still part of that plan as well.
Okay. It's the answer they wanted.
Yes. So somebody said it's unfair that equestrian can use the park for free. So are they saying I'm sorry, Karen, I don't know that I understand this question. So is that said, like, if somebody was to park, let's say by the Finn's parking lot area, and ride their horse in, they can ride their horse onto the dunes for free instead of paying like a vehicle?
Yeah, that's the way it's currently designed, right? So you can either come onto the park, onto the beach at Grand or Pier Avenue, and go take care of your recreational business and enjoy the park, or you can park at Grand Avenue or Pier Avenue, where we don't charge parking right now at those developed parking spots. So just like an equestrian can come set up at Grand Avenue, offload their horses, and go for a ride, our visitors that like to go surf can go park at Grand Avenue and walk in with their surfboards and not have to pay. So, yeah, I mean, if we're developing facilities under the Public Works Plan, then maybe that changes, if we're talking about, again, the Phillips 66 property. Yeah, we don't charge pedestrians to walk on the beach. I mean, I kind of understand the intent of the question, I think, but there's a lot of users that access and use the park without being charged as well.
Mm-hmm. Right. She just said the equestrian. I got that. And no, whoever asked, stage 2 is not open yet.
Correct. Yeah, we're waiting on that.
Yeah. So, Val, do you see anything that I missed?
Not so much. Isn't the Phillips 66 a conceptual plan in distant future? Required to clean up after the horses. Equestrian riders required to clean up after their horses, like we are our dogs. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's a good question.
That's a big bag.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. We get that question every once in a while, and surprisingly, from what we've heard and researched, throughout the state, right? This isn't unique to Oceano Dunes. We see this in all open space. It's always a good practice to pick up after your animals, no matter what. But there's no violation against not picking up after your animals.
No violation for not picking up after your dog even on the beach?
We don't have a violation here that I can think of. Yeah.
I'd like to give them a violation.
Learning something new. That's why we're
I
doing a
am
learning
learning
curve.
something new. Yes, thank you, Kevin.
Certainly require you to keep your dog on a leash, but
Let's see. They should be because the horse is dropping leaves. He's from this. Okay, well, it's not. All right. Anything else, Lisa?
No, I don't think so, Val.
Okay. Well, that's 68 comments. All right. I think we're going to be letting you off the hook here, Kevin.
well, always my pleasure. Hopefully we'll have some updates for you and everybody else here pretty soon. And yeah, look forward to the opportunity to speak with you all again.
Okay, well, the next time we hope we are open and everybody can come out and camp, and we'll be out there. I have yet to take my grandson out there, so we went out there once while the dunes have been open, because I took my Jeep out there for the first time because I have 4-wheel drive and wasn't even able to use it during COVID. But now we were, and so it was fun, and he got to experience that. But yeah, can't wait to get back out there to do some camping.
Awesome. Well, yeah, can't wait to get everybody out there.
Thank
All
you
right.
for your time.
Thank
Certainly
you.
appreciate you.
Thank you. And I'll close out by reminding everybody that we have our virtual Valentine's Day and silent auction, our virtual tasting with El Lugar Winery. So if you're interested in tickets, you can go to our event page on our Facebook page and purchase tickets there. You can go on to Eventbrite. And other than that, we had our mayor's luncheon today. It went very well. And we will hopefully have an in-person mayor's luncheon, we hope, coming up in the next 3 months or so. We want to have those quarterly, so stay tuned for more on that. But that was a great conversation that we had with all 3 mayors, Arroyo Grande, Grover Beach, and Pismo Beach, of course. So addressed a lot of topics, including Oceano Dunes, again.
That was a question that I asked them, yes.
Yep. It was a good question. So other than that, Lisa, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Okay, as everybody knows, you'll find me Sundays at 8 o'clock in the morning at the Pier Plaza for our every Sunday beach and city cleanup. And if you feel like maybe that you want to go out and clean up the beach over at the Oceano Dunes, please do that. But if you want to join us with the Pismo Beach Chamber of Commerce, I park in the Pier Plaza. I have masks, pickers, gloves, and garbage bags. So come help us keep our beaches and our streets clean. 8 o'clock on Sundays.
Thanks again, Kevin. We appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate all the questions.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye.